All right.
We're live.
Yes. Welcome everybody to the second Big East Coast podcast in about 24 hours. If you feel like you just saw us or heard us or whatever, you did. If you
Yep.
feel like I'm wearing the same shirt as yesterday, I am. I'm not planning on taking it off ever. So, that's that. Chris has not matching baseball stuff on. If you're listening to the podcast, he's got an Oakland A's hat and a Montreal Expos shirt, which, I mean, you can't knock the Expos shirt, but, come on.
I can't find my Expos hat, and the Ace hat is a good enough replacement.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's valid. That's valid. Let's see. So, not a whole bunch to talk about in terms of, overall Big East news today. Mainly because we were here.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Nothing's going.
CBS did their Big East preview. Said they're one of the 4 or 5 conferences in the country that improved, which I agree.
I would agree.
And something I didn't really realize is in the 3 years so far of the, revamped conference, average of 5 teams per year go to the NCAA tournament.
Yep, and pretty much I'm pretty sure every team but Marquette and DePaul has made the NCAA tournament at least one year.
Yeah, just thinking about it, yes.
Because obviously Butler has, Creighton did in the first year, Georgetown did in the second year. Providence has done it the past 3 years. Did it last year. St. John's did it 2 years ago, and Villanova and Xavier obviously have as well.
Do you want to talk about bracketology that dropped last night?
I mean, if you want to briefly glance on it, I mean, it's not super.
Yeah, no, we're not going to go too into it here. Just let me pull it up because it's not actually on the bracketology website, so you got to go back through ESPN's Twitter yesterday. I don't want to drag too much early on here because we have a ton of questions today.
Yeah.
But I do want to touch on bracketology with the season, a week away. So Joe Lunardi yesterday dropped his first bracketology, 6 Big East teams in the NCAA tournament. Villanova as a 2, they would open against Stephen F. Austin. And they'd be in the West, which I don't necessarily see happening.
Yeah.
Especially since he has Arizona in the East as a 2, which, like I said yesterday, we'll talk about Arizona more on the national podcast, but I don't see Arizona being a 2. But, yeah, I mean, I think if you have those 2 teams, you would try and put Villanova in the East and Arizona in the West. Xavier is a 3 in the South, which is loaded. His first 4 seeds in the South are Kentucky, North Carolina, Xavier, and Indiana.
That's a pretty good field.
The South would be your region of death. And he has Kentucky and Xavier playing in Indianapolis the first weekend, which would be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Not playing each other, but both, playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Next would be Butler, I believe. No, Creighton. Creighton is a 6 in Milwaukee against the winner of Colorado BYU. And then, actually, he would have Creighton if they win that game playing either Wisconsin or Long Beach State. And, to play Wisconsin and Milwaukee would be a tough task, but Creighton is playing them earlier in the year in Omaha. So, see what happens there. Going back up, also in the Midwest, he has Butler in that 8-9 game again, has him as a 9 against Florida. And Butler's won at least one tournament game the last, handful of times they've been in it. So you probably pencil them in, then pencil them to give the 1 seed Kansas a game, as I do. Seton Hall in as a 10. They go to Salt Lake City, which I can only imagine would not make people happy, especially after they had to go to Denver last year.
Nope.
And then a real interesting one in Orlando, number 6 Syracuse against number 11 Georgetown.
Yes, that would be awfully fun.
And then, no, never mind. UConn's not in that quadrant.
Nope.
But, so that's bracketology. Marquette's one of the next 4 out. It doesn't mean anything right now. I mean,
No.
It's just fun to look at.
Exactly.
So anyway, getting to Xavier here, just jump right in.
If you want to start, that's fine.
Yeah, no, obviously last year, either one of the best or the best year in school history in terms of wins. I know they talked about it during the season, and I don't remember entirely.
Let me check here. I'm on Sports Reference. It was the second most total wins
Yeah.
that they had, behind the 07-08 mark back when they were in the A-10 when they won 30 games and they lost in the Elite Eight that year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
I think for regular season wins, though, I think it tied the record.
Yeah, I think they had the most regular season wins or something close to it, if not tied, like you said. So, yeah, a very successful season for them. After, the first 2 years in the conference, they were good, but they were closer to, like, middle of the road more than anything, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because in their first year, or I should say, okay. In the 2013-2014 season, they went 10-8 in the Big East. Year after that, they went 9-9, and then last year, of course, they went 14-4.
Yes.
So, a big improvement. Lots of that had to do with the fact that they had, the contributions of Edmund Sumner, who really broke out and now is like an NBA prospect going into this year now, and other contributions from J.P. Mikura and contributions from Blewett. So,
and also last year they played probably what was the biggest conference game in the history of the revamped Big East against Villanova at Cintas Center.
Yeah.
The first one against Villanova was real hyped, and then Sumner got the concussion a couple minutes in, and Villanova never looked back.
Yeah.
That second game was one of the better ones that we've seen. Really, one of the better games in college basketball last year, in a year that we had a lot of good games.
I definitely agree with you there. Yes.
They ran the table in the non-conference. It was pretty decent. Obviously playing Cincy, one of the most dominating Feast Week performances I've seen in a while. I know the game against USC ended up being close, but that was over at the half.
Yeah.
Dayton was over from the jump.
Yep.
And they had that graphic, which I don't have since I got a new phone, but they had like more 15-0, 15-1 runs than any team in the country.
Yeah.
So they would just get out and go.
Yep.
It really is that win against Michigan at Michigan in the Gavitt games that kind of put everyone take notice, because you don't go into another power conference arena and win by 15, 16. Yeah. So that's really what kind of put them on the map, because Miami, Ohio, they kind of were okay in that game. Mizzou, they only beat them by 12, which
exactly.
But that Michigan game really kind of cemented where they were, and just never really look back. I don't think many of their conference games are close, except for Wake Forest. I know Wake Forest, Wake Forest was up by 20.
Yeah.
In the first half, and 12-0 non-conference, and like we said, lost to Villanova, then started doing well again. I don't think they took a bad conference loss. The one in Georgetown at home, call it what you want, but losing at Villanova, at Seton Hall, at Creighton, and then at home against Georgetown, I don't think you could, complain about any of those.
Definitely not.
And like you said, Blewett and Sumner last year really surged. Both came back. Very good chances. Probably the last year you're going to see either of those two.
Yes.
Little surprised Jalen Reynolds isn't back this year. but they'll be fine.
Yeah, they should be.
So yeah, that was last year. Just kind of in a nutshell. Obviously, they beat Weber State team and then fell to a Wisconsin team that, looking back, was probably a little underseeded.
Yeah, I definitely think hindsight's definitely helpful in that regard. The Wisconsin team still obviously had a couple holdovers from the clubs that went to the Final Four. They kind of lost their way at the start and then came together towards the end of the season, so I guess it wasn't too surprising. But obviously that was a heartbreaking loss for Xavier. Lost on a three-pointer from Bronson Koenig at the buzzer to end their season after really, like we mentioned, one of the best seasons in program history. But that was then. This is now. Xavier's coming into this year with a lot of hype, mostly centered around the play of Sumner, of Blewett, and of Makura, who should be the three go-to guys this year. But I'm a little concerned about this team for two reasons in particular. One, we're not really sure about Miles Davis's status. Davis obviously currently is suspended indefinitely from the team after getting into legal trouble with, I believe it was a domestic violence issue, right? Yeah.
Not necessarily domestic violence. It was a domestic situation.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that I got that right.
Yeah, no.
And as you mentioned and you touched on with Jalen Reynolds, I'm really concerned about the height of this team. And because they were able to, be so good last year, not just because of, Blewett and Sumner, but the fact that they had James Farr and Jalen Reynolds, more so Farr than Reynolds, I think at least, who were great rebounders. But now this year, they don't really have the height that they had last year that really kind of played into their strengths.
I mean, I agree, but we'll touch on this a little bit more when we get more into their schedule. They're not exactly playing anyone that's overwhelmingly big. So it's they have that stretch against Baylor and Colorado and Utah, which are all very quality opponents. So hopefully by then, you've had 6 games to figure out kind of your rebounding situation, your big situation. Rasheed Gaston was very good at Norfolk State, I believe, where he came from. Very good rebounder, big man combo there. Let me get his numbers real quick. Obviously, you don't know how he's going to translate to a new program, but he was very good rebounder, top 60 in the country in offensive and defensive rebounding percentage. But again, someone else is going to have to do some stuff too.
Yeah, and I know that they're probably going to, even though it says it on verbal commits, Blewett's probably not playing at the 2. He's probably going to play at the 4.
Well, yeah. And I mean, he can get rebounds.
Yeah, he can definitely get rebounds. He's obviously. So I don't think that it's kind of like Villanova's, because we know that they still have Reynolds and they still have, Jenkins and whatnot. With Xavier, the guys that they're putting their stocks into, like you mentioned, Gaston, we know is a pretty good player, but we don't know about Sean O'Mara, because Sean O'Mara has only been playing in limited minutes behind Reynolds and Farr the past few years.
Yeah.
And also Tyreek Jones, who's a freshman. And, there's going to obviously be a bit of a learning curve for him as he enters the year. I don't think he's going to be starting.
No.
But he'll probably come in the second unit. But, the front court for the Musketeers, I think, is their weakness. And I think most of their success this year will hinge on that, because the guards are obviously going to get a lot of attention. So,
yeah.
But the front court still, with Gaston, and he's obviously pretty good. But like I said, we don't know much about O'Mara. We don't know about Tyreek Jones, and they obviously had Jalen Reynolds turn pro, and McKinday London and Eddie Ekiyor both transfer. So. or leave the program in general.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really only a problem for this year that you have to figure out
Yeah.
because we do have a lot of nice bigs coming in the 2017 class already. A lot of even guards that you can get your other guys to shift to other positions, and then Xavier Jones, obviously, who is probably the weakest part of that 5-man class, which not his fault. It's a very good class.
It's sort of to a lesser degree like the situation at Providence, where they have not a lot of big men, but they have help coming next year, so they're just going to have to tread water. But
it's kind of Providence, except Xavier still has their 2 NBA guys on the roster.
Exactly, yeah. So it's sort of like that just in terms of the front court.
Yeah.
That they don't have a lot of help right now, but they have help on the way. But the benefits for Xavier are that they have better guards and better wings, and they also have an even better recruiting class than Providence has next year coming in.
Yeah.
So I think a player who personally maybe not a lot of attention's being squared on right now that can help this cause and can help them rebound and can help them play down low is Kaiser Gates.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And I know that we didn't see much of him last year. He only played a bit of a limited role. KenPom has his possession percentage only at 15.2%.
Yeah.
But when we see him, he was able to make some contributions in spurts. He had an 11-point outing against Creighton in early March. He had an 11-point outing against DePaul in January. Scored 10 points in a win over Butler. So I think he'll get a little bit more burn this year, considering what the situation is going to look like, and especially if Miles Davis remains suspended, they're going to need another body in there. So I think Kaiser Gates can definitely help this team, and I think his importance for this team is going to turn into a pretty big factor for them.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, don't put too much stock in exhibition games, but they have one tomorrow, so we can kind of get a little bit of a read on what they're going to be throwing out.
Exactly.
Because you get pretty much everyone in the program gets to play in the exhibition game, so it's a good start. And they've never been a team that finished outside of the top 75 in adjusted defense under Chris Mack. So the defense is going to be there, just a matter of if it translates to rebounding or if it translates more to, suppressing shots and forcing turnovers.
Exactly, yeah. And more on Gates, I pulled up Banners on the Parkway's profile on him that they wrote back in mid-October. Now, they raved about the fact that he was a good rebounder, what they need, especially on the defensive side. Was able to guard a lot of positions, stands at 6'8", and was pretty high in both steal and block percentage. So even though, and as they mentioned, he had a line of only like 3.2, 2.6, 43% shooting, may not wow you, but the things that he was able to do in the game when he was in the game, very impressive. And I think that, he could be a big little factor, even with my reservations about the team's front court. Gates can make an impact in his next year, in his sophomore season.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to pinpoint somebody on this team who may come out of, nowhere, so to speak, because he's not, Sumner or Blewett or Makura, all of them gotten their fair share of attention in the offseason, I think it's got to be Kaiser Gates.
Yeah. And just real quick, looking at their recruiting class, you talked about Tyreek Jones, who will probably get some playing time. I mean, It's a matter of how effective he is. Do you see Quentin Gooden getting a ton of playing time, being behind Sumner?
Oh, see, I think it mostly depends on where Mac puts Makura, because I think Makura also is a guy who I think has earned his way into the starting lineup. But again, a lot of the guard questions and guard play this year for Xavier hinges on, what is Miles Davis doing? Is he going to be with this team or is he not? Because while he's not there, I think Gooden has a good chance of getting, significant amount of burn, because I think it's an easy decision to put, Sumner and Kira on the floor at the same time, and then have Gooden come in with the second unit. While I think that he could be a six-man, Makura could be a six-man still if and when Davis returns to this team.
Yeah, no, I can see that. And, Chris Mack obviously has not, given too much information about Miles Davis, so he'll be back when he gets back, really. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And I'd like to say that I do applaud Xavier right now for handling the situation how they are doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Indefinite suspension was the right move, and back when it happened, I wondered, it's the off season. It's very easy to do that, but the season's 1 week away, and it still hasn't been lifted. So,
yeah, and I mean, there was a narrative around Xavier even up to the earlier part of this decade where they didn't recruit the best type of people off court. So now it kind of looks like Chris Mack is doing what he can to kind of shed that narrative.
I do agree with that.
If he's doing what he has to do right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So, definitely some props to them there. So looking at their schedule for this year, I don't think they're going to run the table in the non-conference again, just because, you go to Waco and you go to Boulder, and it's if they can go and back-to-back beat two pretty decent, very good team in Baylor and a pretty good team in Colorado, I would be surprised, and that's not a knock on Xavier. It's hard to win on the road.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with that. Their schedule is definitely a little bit more difficult than it was last year on their non-conference, and that's going to happen when you get good. You face better teams, especially when you're a team like Xavier, who I think when we talk about like the schools that win big majors that have risen up the ranks, I think Xavier is certainly earned their street cred, so to speak. So they're able to get some of these maybe not super high-profile matchups, but they're pretty dang good. Because Baylor's been a very good program for the past couple of years. Amazing that we're able to see that, especially after all the mess that they went through in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Colorado goes without saying they've been a very solid program the past few years, whether it was in the Big 12 or whether it's been in the Pac-12 the past few years too. Same goes for Utah, who they're hosting at Cintas, which will definitely be an added benefit for them. And Wake Forest is going to be better this year too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I would still really like to see, and I think 3 of the 4 schools that I'm about to mention would be for this, is kind of what Indiana does and do a Crossroads Classic type of thing with Xavier, Dayton, Cincy, and Ohio State. And you can figure out the 3 that would be on board and the one that wouldn't, if you would like. But
yeah,
it's a cool type of thing.
Yeah, those Buckeyes just – and you know what? It's silly because Thad Matta used to coach at Xavier. You'd think that he would be for it.
Yeah. Well, I think even another thing that would be pretty cool with where Cincinnati's located is if you could get something going with Louisville.
Oh, yeah. That's very true.
And, I mean, Louisville, they'll play people.
Yeah, I'd love to see Xavier play Louisville. That'd be fun. That'd be like a total street fight between how those two teams play. Woo!
But, I don't want to go too crazy here like we did with Butler a little bit.
Yeah. Let's. All right. So, yeah, their non-conference, the way it shakes out, right now they're projected to only lose 1 game. That's at Baylor, which I think is fair. And the game against Colorado is closer to a toss-up than it is a decisive win for Xavier, at least per KenPom. They're at 57% right now to win that game.
By the way, speaking of KenPom, I have not gone through every team. But if you can find a team that is favored at more than 90% on a neutral floor against another Power 5 team that isn't Rutgers, send me a screenshot. Because right now, Baylor against Mizzou is at 91% in the Puerto Rico tip-off that's actually in Orlando.
Oh, God.
And I think Mizzou actually made strides this year, too. But
well, so do I. I think they've got talent on the wing, but damn, still.
Yeah, that's rough.
Oh, that's rough.
Especially since it's on a neutral floor, so you figure if it was in Cincinnati, it would probably be up to, 93 or 94.
Oh, yeah, maybe even more.
So, yeah, they're probably going to win the first two. They're probably going to beat Mizzou. Then Puerto Rico doesn't really present too much of an interesting challenge. If they draw Clemson, I mean, Jared Blossomame's pretty good.
Yeah, Blossom.
Other than that, there's not much to them. And then probably either Northern Iowa or Oklahoma coming out of the other side, and Oklahoma's not really what they were. I do think they have Isaiah Cousins still. Maybe.
You would be incorrect.
No, he left too. Yeah, they're. Who did they have back from last year?
They still have Woodard.
Okay, yeah.
He's their only senior. Between him and Kadeem Latin are their only major upperclassmen.
So that's another game Xavier should win. It really wouldn't surprise me if they win the what's it called now? Tire Pros Invitational.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you figure they win that, come back to the mainland from Florida at 6-0, 5-0. That'd be 5-0.
I think so. I think they'd be 5-0, going against Northern Iowa possibly again.
So they could play back to back against Northern Iowa.
Oh God, that'd be funny as hell.
All right, so they're gonna beat Northern Iowa. They're gonna beat North Dakota State. So very real possibility they go to Waco at 7-0.
Yeah, and the way that that's right. I forgot Baylor. I do not know if Baylor's going to be 7-0.
They play Oregon again, don't they?
Yeah, and they also play VCU.
Oof.
And I think that's
Oregon
playing the battle for Atlantis.
Oh wow! So
I do not think Baylor's going to be 7-0 or 8-0 or whatever the hell their record will be going into that Xavier game.
No, but they probably will still be ranked.
Oh yeah, they'll probably still be ranked because I mean, if they take any losses, they're not going to be bad ones.
They will be ranked. I believe they're 7 to open the year.
Who?
Xavier.
Xavier, I think they're.
Are they 9? I think they're 9.
7.
Yeah. Okay.
7. Yeah, because I did a post on the fast break. I said 7 marks the spot for Xavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're 7th. So Xavier will still be ranked likely unless they, some.
So Baylor
collapse.
Baylor and Colorado are both coin flips per Ken Palm. So if you haven't split that, I mean that's a very real chance that one loss is their only loss in conference play, and that's fine.
It is, yeah. And like I said, I think Wake's a bit of an improved team this year, but as we've seen, it is very tough to go into Cintas and win, especially in the non-conference.
Yeah, they haven't. I don't think they've lost since Chris Mack's first year because I looked it up last year.
Yeah, you definitely looked that up last year.
I think their last loss was when they played Florida. Which, looking back, that had to be set up right when Florida was like coming off the second title too. So that's
no. It was Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
it was Vanderbilt in 2012,
and they lost to Wofford that year.
Oh,
okay, that's bad. But
that was a clunker of a year for Xavier.
Outside of those two, it is Florida.
Yeah,
I think still. Maybe
we will not bring up that 2012-2013 season. That looked ugly. That looked ugly.
But yeah, I mean, they're looking at probably having 1-2 at worst losses going into Big East play, and then they open at home against Providence. So I mean, they're in good shape again. They're in good shape. I mean, Ken Palm has them at 20-9. You figure they pick up the other 2 games in Orlando 22-9. It's fine.
Yeah, it is, and I'm actually I'm intrigued by the fact that a lot of their games, I shouldn't say a lot, a couple of their games down the stretch at Marquette and at Seton Hall specifically are coin flips. I mean, I know that obviously, winning at BMO Harris Bradley Center is tough, and Xavier got thumped by Seton Hall last year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how well they match up against Seton Hall, especially if Delgado is going to play.
Yeah, and that kind of goes against what I said before. I think Delgado and Sonogo could eat in that game.
Yeah,
especially if they haven't gotten their rebounding and their size situation figured out by then. Which if they didn't, then something went terribly wrong.
But the home game against Villanova should be one of the better games of the year. They actually close the Rosemont Horizon. Well, it's not actually closing. DePaul's just leaving. Northwestern's playing there next year. But yeah, they usher out the DePaul era, the Rosemont Horizon.
They do. Are they projected to lose any other home games except for that Nova game? Doesn't look like it.
No, and that's all season. It's not just conference.
Correct. So okay, that's pretty fair. I mean, like we've said, it's very difficult for teams to come in and win.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're in good shape.
Yeah, I think they're in good shape too.
I think they'll be in good shape again next year. I think we finally killed the Chris Mack to whatever job that's not as good as Xavier in some other trash conference.
You mean like the one where he was supposed to go to? That was Holtman that was supposed to go to Tennessee.
Yeah.
Mack was supposed to go to Texas.
Yeah, and that one, maybe Mac to Florida, maybe, but since then, what he's done, I mean, it's hard to see him leaving.
It is, and I mean, I know, other coaches have used the Xavier job as a stepping stone. Sean Miller and Thad Matta, to be specific, but I know it's very.
If you go back to Pete Gillen, I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
But Pete Gillen actually told me, I talked to him last year when I was writing about how Xavier's kind of turned into this powerhouse that no one really talks about. He doesn't see it like that anymore.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a good conference now. You're the school in Cincinnati.
Exactly.
I mean, that's arguable. You've probably been the best basketball program in the state for the last, number of years.
And I think that Dayton. Yeah. I think that they're probably the best program to never make a Final Four.
Yeah, depending what you think about Mizzou and BYU.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 1-2 with Xavier and Mizzou. So.
Actually, we talk about the state of Ohio. CBS did another one of those, maps that they did last year, but this was just for this season. And I can't find it right now. I know Creighton was Nebraska, but I do want to see who was Ohio.
Let me see. I would be surprised if they picked Ohio State just because their facilities in Columbus stink.
I think Matt Norlander did it again.
Yeah.
Right, let me check. Did I not retweet?
It is Xavier.
Yeah. So, actually, you gotta love his Illinois pick.
Is that Ball State?
That is Illinois State.
Oh, that's right. Ball State's in Indiana. Duh. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So, that's how things are in Illinois right now.
Wow, Miami is for Florida? Wow.
For what it looks like, the Big East schools kind of, I can't tell if it's St. John. No, it's Syracuse. Never mind.
Yeah.
Which, whatever, Seton Hall is New Jersey. Xavier. Indiana got Indiana. Wisconsin got Wisconsin, which you can argue, but. So, yeah, that was a pretty cool thing. But anyway, we probably get to our questions now because I believe this is the most we've ever had.
Yeah, no, we got a ton of questions. Thank you to the Xavier people who sent them.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. I'll pull them up.
Okay.
All right. You know when they started? Did they start today?
I think they started yesterday.
Yeah, no, now I see. Okay, so
Yeah.
the first question is from Kevin Hackett. He asks, can we get JP McCurra, to surpass Grayson Allen for the most hated NCAA player this year? What will he have to do to accomplish this?
Well, first of all, there's no taking that for Grayson Allen. But second of all, I don't think too many people hate McCurra except for Butler fans.
Not yet, at least. Maybe.
There's a smarter choice.
Hold on. I think I left the CBS thing open.
Here for the smarter choice.
There we go.
Maybe if we can get McCurra to lazily play games on an iPad like he did at Media Day, then we can get people to hate him, especially the ones who always chide millennials for not paying attention to anything. Yeah,
that's how JP McCurra spent Big East Media Day, just playing games on the iPad.
Yeah, with Chris Max, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a fun little nugget there. That's my suggestion.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think anyone's taking that from Grayson Allen just because he plays for Duke, and
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. Next question from XU Fan 2012. Why are we always underrated? Well, I think a lot of it still is just perception.
I have no idea. They've been good for 30 years. I mean, You can't name too many college basketball programs that have been consistently good for that period of time that don't get the respect. And I'm not one that plays the respect card, but come on.
I think it's still perception. I think, they don't play football obviously on a D1 level, so they're not going to always get a ton of attention. So I think it's just as simple as that. I don't know what they have to do. Maybe they have to make a Final Four, maybe they don't. But I think that it's just perception, and it's an annoying perception, but it's perception.
Yeah, and I mean, I think being in the Ohio River Valley, where you have Kentucky and Louisville, and you have Indiana, and teams like that, where you got to do a lot to stand out. I mean, even Ohio State was good for that little bit.
Exactly.
So yeah, you gotta do a lot to stand out, and I think Xavier has, if you're really paying attention, but for the national types, it's hard.
But they're getting there, especially if they're going to keep recruiting at this.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
So may not last for too much longer. All right. Next question from Nathan Lamelin. Do you guys think that Paul Fritchner can make a difference if the team gets injured? His 3-point shooting is valuable.
That's a great question.
It's a great question. Need to see some video.
Yeah, absolutely.
Need to do some scouting. He said he looked pretty good at practice, and he could maybe crack the rotation. We need to see some video, though. See some video, we can accurately answer this question.
Yes.
All right. Next question from Josh Lewis. How many minutes does Tyreek Jones get per game? Which I'll just assume here is what he meant.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we touched on a little bit earlier. It really depends how the guys in front of him do. And if Miles Davis comes back.
Yeah, and I mean, let's try and get a gauge here. I think he'll certainly, unless something goes terribly wrong, I think he'll get more minutes than, the likes of some of their bench warmers did last year. I think hovering around, because Jalen Reynolds averaged about 19.6 last year, and that was mostly because Jalen, to his dismay, often got in foul trouble.
Yeah.
So, and he certainly could have played longer if that didn't happen. Kaiser Gates, freshman, averaged 10.4 minutes per game. I would probably slot Tyreek Jones with the front court situation being where it is. And I think that is largely dependent on this also, because last year, obviously, there were a lot of big men, so the big men that were on the bench didn't play too much. But now that that situation's cleared out, I think somewhere between 15, 20 wouldn't surprise me, even though Tyreek Jones is a freshman. So I think it depends on how much experience he wants to give Mac, that is, to give Tyreek Jones if they do decide to go with Sean O'Mara and let Rashid Gaston for most of it, and just mostly depends on the lineups. But if it's that high, it won't surprise me. But but on a realistic level, I would probably throw the dart between 10 to 15.
Okay.
It's kind of a second unit contributor in his first year there. I don't think he's going to be cracking the starting lineup unless he really, really performs at a high level, which I think he can be capable of doing. But still,
yeah,
that's just my guess from an untrained eye and not knowing what Mac is going to do with his rotations. All right. Next question from the Xavier Muskie at Xavier Muskie 88. Actually, there's a few questions from him as well. So thank you for him asking a lot of questions. First question was, will Xavier wear throwback jerseys this year? I would approve.
Hopefully. I mean, throwback jerseys are great. Seton Hall started rotating in Glory Days last year, and they made the tournament for the first time in a decade. So you never know what can happen if you bring out your throwbacks.
Yep. So I would certainly approve. Xavier's throwbacks are certainly pretty nice. So I wouldn't mind seeing them, but we'll have to see what happens there. Next question. What's your opinion on the Xavier front court? Well, already have answered that question at length, short but sweet. Can be good, but I do have my reservations about it just because of the depth and the kind of players that are there right now with a little bit of unknown there, and not knowing what Sean O'Mara will do with his significant minute upgrade that I suspect he'll get this year. And do they have enough depth? Well, I'm not so sure, but it depends also on what they do with Kaiser Gates and if they slot him down to the front court, which he can obviously.
Yeah.
And final question from him for now, unless he did ask more. Which Xavier game are you most excited to watch this year? Probably against Villanova.
Yeah, either Baylor or Villanova.
Obviously, the ones against Cincy are always fun, but that probably should be rubbing. So, even though it is at, I believe it's at Cincy this year. So.
Yes.
Okay. Next question from Chris Thurlow. Am I the only one that thinks Xavier will beat up Villanova this year for the regular season title?
While I'm not going to predict it, but I could see it happening if everything goes right for Xavier and if Villanova's, lack of a true center ends up burning them.
Yeah.
But it's hard. I mean, again, Xavier has two guys that are probably going to be in the NBA next year. It's hard to bet against him for anything.
Yeah, exactly. And if Mikura's, prodigious scoring efforts, get him into the starting lineup, that obviously gives them a threat from the outside and from anywhere inside as well. So if that three-headed monster that they have of Mikura and Blewett and Sumner gives them enough, then I could see it, but I think it's more realistic to say that Villanova will probably get their fourth straight Big East regular title.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I could see it, but I just don't know if it's realistic to think. Just like off the bat, a lot has to happen for that to happen. Villanova would have to slip up quite a few times, which they just haven't done in the past couple of years. And I don't think this team is significantly weaker than the teams of the past.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think they've only lost like 8 regular season Big East games in the past 3 years. So I think 6, if that.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Next question. Let's see here if I can get this. Why, and from Matt Demarinis, why was he so emotionally unstable in all 3 X-Men prequels?
I've never seen the X-Men movies.
Neither have I, so.
I don't watch those movies.
Yeah, I unfortunately, Matt, I cannot answer that question, but it's a great question nonetheless. He's been asking some great questions.
Yes.
All right, we got 2 questions here from Ryan Heller. His first question: What is your prediction of when Miles Davis will return?
I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen until everything is resolved. So, it's kind of up to the legal system at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. I can't really make a prediction. I don't think it would be prudent to make a prediction about that. I think just letting that situation play out the way it is the proper move. And I think that the indefinite suspension will remain indefinite until resolution happens. It's obviously a delicate subject there, so we'll tread lightly around that. But I will say that as far as prediction goes, I just can't make one until more info comes out. And his next question was, where does Chris Mack buy his suits? I wish I did. There's some great suits. I mean, obviously, everyone's fighting for second place behind Jay Wright. But
yeah, I mean, come on.
That goes without saying. And then from Retire 52, will Chris Mack wear anything other than a blue dress shirt this season?
No, man, it works,
It does. It does.
Xavier wears blue. It works.
Yep, it works. So I would say probably not, unless he decides to surprise us all.
I think that might be it for questions. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's hard to wade through the mentions because you're out here throwing shade at ESPN.
I threw shade at ESPN, but I decided to be a few other things there. Yeah.
All right. So, no baseball to talk about anymore.
Nope.
No real wrestling in Cincinnati. Usually.
Not that I can think of. No, I mean, if it's happened, it's happened at U.S. Bank Arena. It hasn't happened at St. Dunstan Field.
Can't even do a food recommendation in Cincinnati except for Graders. Go to Graders.
Yeah, go to Graders and have some good ice cream there.
But other than that, the only food I've had there was at Great American Ballpark. And
it was perfectly fine.
Good. Yeah.
And when we went there, the smokestacks were on fire.
Yeah. 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 So I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's about it. So I think our consensus here is that Xavier's going to be a really good team again. I have my reservations about their front court. Their back court's going to be tremendous. Blewett and Sumner should both be terrific players.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they should, again, compete along with the best in the Big East again and probably make the NCAA tournament again for the umpteenth time. So,
yeah.
They should be good. That's the consensus here. So, now we will turn our attention to Villanova the next time you hear from us.
That's not a V. I can't. Is that a V? Maybe a little wider?
That's a W.
Well, I don't.
You were doing this. You're going to you're going to piss off our Marquette fans, Rob.
That's a V, but that's weak looking.
That's like USC. So you want to be careful there.
V.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, that should be fun. They won the national championship, in case you don't remember.
That happened 7 months ago today.
Pretty cool game. One of the better sporting events that I have watched this year.
It is certainly in the top 3.
Yeah.
Top 5.
Yeah, I mean, really, the Super Bowl was probably, if you just talk about win or go home type of games, probably the worst if you want to count, Game 7 of Cavs Warriors and, Villanova against UNC.
I mean, the Stanley Cup Finals blow-off game wasn't great, and neither was the national championship for football.
Yeah.
That turned into something competitive towards the end, but it was...
Yeah, and then Cubs-Indians was the best sporting event I've ever watched.
Best thing I've ever watched.
We went the whole Xavier podcast without a Xavier assistant Luke Murray's father reference.
We did.
Joke that is retired now, don't worry. That's retired. NLCS predictions are retired. Yeah, so we're done with all that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, Villanova, Monday, Tuesday, not Wednesday, and not Thursday, and not Friday. So Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
So, listen back, come back and watch, come back and listen.
Subscribe, etc.
Season starts a week from today, Friday.
It does.
Pretty boring opening slate except for Marquette Vandy, but watch them, tweet them, recap them. Stuff we do. Exciting to be back. I still haven't fully shifted into college basketball mode yet, but a lot to do next week, so we'll dig in and get it done and be ready for Friday. So, yeah. Have a nice weekend. Thanks for listening to the Big East Coast Podcast. I'm Rob. That's Chris, and we will see you next week.